Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Steve. So, there was this one guy. I don't know his name. I've never heard of him before. I don't know who it was. But I got a recommended video in my trend or my homepage of my YouTube. And it's pretty much said Stephen A. Smith discusses if there are 30 players better than Carmelo Anthony. Now, I watched like 10 seconds of it, and some guy, I don't know who it was not Stephen A. Smith, some guy said that Carmelo Anthony, that there are 30 players better than Carmelo Anthony, and that there are 30 players who will have a better season than Carmelo Anthony. Okay, so this time I'm really not going to yell in this video. Okay, I woke up like 10, not even 10 minutes ago. Okay, so I'm not going to yell in this video. I'm very upset though because this, contain yourself, makes no sense. This makes no sense whatsoever. Look, I'll be the first one to tell you Carmelo Anthony is not as good as he once was. But if you actually watched every single game last season and not just looked at the box score, in which he still averaged 22, 6, and 3, which, you know, if for someone that's out of his prime, still averaging the same numbers as prime Paul George, prime Gordon Hayward, etc., but this guy's out of his prime and he's averaging the same numbers, says a lot. So I'll just leave that right there. So debunk that, refute that, okay? But for someone to sit there and actually say, and he said, Carmelo Anthony is no longer a tier 2 superstar. And in my mind, when he said that, I'm just like, what? Carmelo Anthony is no longer a tier 2 superstar. He never was a tier 2 superstar. If you go back, since he was drafted, and everyone used to discuss the greatest players in the game, there was a list of common players. Kobe, T-Mac, Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, Jason Kidd, LeBron, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Tony Parker, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, right, Carmelo Anthony. There was no Melo used to be a tier 2 super. He was never a tier 2 super. Well, he said tier 2 star, meaning he's a star but not good enough to be up there with, you know, the top tier stars like Stephen Curry and no, he said he's not even good enough to be up there with Paul George and Gordon Hayward. What? Okay, I know someone's gonna say he was talking about based off of age or what. No, bull crap. They've been doing this to Carmelo Anthony since he was drafted in the league. Look, he said, even as of right now, Carmelo Anthony is not better than Paul George or Gordon Hayward. Now, last time I checked, and I know someone's going to say, well, at least Paul George made the playoffs. Okay, but isn't he like 0 of 15 for the go-ahead buckets in the last, minute of the game, right? But if you look at it statistically, isn't Carmelo Anthony statistically the most successful player or the clutchest player in the NBA since 2003, statistically? Look, all I'm going to sit here and say is if you actually watched Carmelo Anthony play last season, you actually watched every single game like myself, you would see how terrible the organization was around him. For example, you would have been saying what I've been saying this entire year about Kristaps Porzingis being overrated. If you look at the statistics, he plays better when Melo's on the floor. I wonder why. Now, Kristaps Porzingis also came out and said Melo helps him get better and helps him play better on the floor. I wonder why. Now, it's not just that, but if you look at Porzingis when Melo's not on the floor, he's really one-dimensional on the offensive end. He'll start spotting up and shooting, and he won't stop. He'll start pulling up from the top of the key, and that's like the only shot he'll take for 10, 12 shots in a row. You know? And when Melo's on the floor, then KP wants to go in the post. Then he wants to play off the ball. Then he wants to catch and shoot. Then he wants to take people off the dribble. I'm just like, what? And the people are going to sit there and say that Melo is hurting KP? No. Okay, so if you actually watch the games, or for example, if you want to talk about if Melo still got it, have you seen that game against Atlanta where he got fouled out for touching Dennis Schroeder on the back when every single clutch shot he was hitting, night in and night out. Well, possession in, possession out, because he kept saying, I want it, I want it. Was he not getting fouled? If you look at the replay, the same contact that Melo did on Dennis Schroeder, touching his back, oh my gosh, wow. You know why they did that? Because Melo was about to drop 50. What did he have, like 47? 45? He was about to drop 50. But guess what? We can't have Melo drop 50 in the league. We can't do that anymore. Because Melo's no longer one of our... We don't want to support... That was the most BS foul I've ever seen in my entire life. And Melo's hitting fadeaways, getting kicked in the head, getting his headband ripped off, getting pushed, and no foul call. He's still making them. He's not complaining to the referee. He's still making them. And then he's going on the other end to play defense. I don't get people, man. How could you really sit there? Okay, I'm not gonna sit here and say Carmelo Anthony is top 3 still. I'm not gonna sit here and say Carmelo Anthony is top 5. I may not even sit here and say he's top 10. But to say that there are 30 players that would have a better season than Carmelo Anthony is the most outright disrespectful thing I have ever seen towards Carmelo Anthony, besides Phil Jackson, since I've started this YouTube channel. I can't say of all time because they've been disrespecting Melo his entire career. His entire damn career, they've been disrespecting Carmelo Anthony. It's pathetic. It's truly pathetic, man. I mean, even LeBron came out and said, they asked LeBron in an interview. I know you guys have seen this. If you really keep up with basketball, you've seen this. It was like 4 or 5, maybe 6 months ago. They asked him. They were like, do you think Melo's still a top player in this game? And he was like, did you see what Melo did against Atlanta? How many players do you know that can do that? Give me a list of players and then we'll talk. I mean, come on, man. Look, you can knock him all you want. All I'm going to say is don't judge him unless you actually watch him play. A lot of people say, oh, he's a bum, 22, 6, and 3. Okay, but you're praising Paul George for the same numbers. But then you're also not recognizing that this is Melo out of his prime. But yet he's still averaging the same numbers as one of the quote-unquote greatest players in the game right now in Paul George and Gordon Hayward. That doesn't make sense to me. Because right there you're contradicting yourself. When Melo does it, it's terrible. But since Paul George is doing it, it's great. But Paul George is in his prime and Melo's out of his prime. Where's the logic in that? So if Melo's out of his prime and he's averaging the same exact stat line as Paul George in his prime, what does that say about how great Carmelo was and how great he still is? Please explain that to me. And I can't take these haters, man, because if you actually watch the games, there were so many nights. I've said this in another video, Melo could have averaged 28 this season. There were so many nights. Remember that stretch where I said, okay, Hornacek, his rotations are getting better. And what happened during that stretch was like a 2-week stretch, or like a month, actually. I think it was January. Melo was averaging 31 points for like a few weeks, in a few-week stretch. You want to know why? Because Jeff Hornacek fixed the rotations. He started playing Melo more in the fourth quarter. He stopped bringing him out so damn late and then holding him on the bench so damn long in the fourth quarter. Look, as soon as he changed that, the Knicks started to win more, and Melo started to average 31 points per game. And then he changed it again, and guess what? Guess what? Exactly. The exact same thing that happened in the beginning of the season happened in the end of the season because this team was so damn dysfunctional. He didn't complain one single time while Phil Jackson was disrespecting him. He just played it out. He saved Melo. Okay, you had the entire roster, defending him. You have your quote-unquote future in Kristaps Porzingis defending him. Okay, Kristaps Porzingis didn't even want to talk to Phil Jackson because of what he did to Melo. So you have all of this dysfunction with the head coach. You have the GM, general manager, and Phil Jackson, or president of basketball operations, whatever the hell he was. He did nothing besides get KP, Derrick Rose, Courtney. He did some good stuff, but for the most part, it was disgusting. Okay, so you have Melo that if you truly watch, he's outplayed Kawhi Leonard this season. You don't believe me? Go look at the highlights. They've played, and he's outplayed him on a one-on-one basis. Okay, He's outplayed LeBron. He kept up with Kevin Durant. He's outplayed Paul George. He's outplayed Gordon. If he's so terrible, why is he outplaying these players? That's what I don't get. Stop hating on him, man. There are not 30 players that are going to have a better season or that are better than him, period. He could be 45 years old, averaging 20 points per game. This man has never averaged under 20. He could be 45 years old, still in the NBA. And I guarantee you there still won't be 30 players better than him. This is the nonsense on this whole charade has to stop. Half the people that say Carmelo Anthony suck don't even watch him play. So at the end of the day, I'll just sit here and I'll tell you guys this right now. Carmelo Anthony's staying with the New York Knicks. And when he has a great season, I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear all these bandwagons jump right back on him. Oh, I've been here since day one. All the Knicks fans that have booed him. All the Knicks fans that have watched my videos that say Melo sucks now and get rid of him. You should be ashamed of yourself. But me, Matt the Knicks fan, G-Mac, and the rest of people that watch me that also supported Melo since day one, we can just say we've been here since day one. At the end of the day, 25, 6, and 3 for a career average. If that's terrible, then what is great? Because if 25, 6, and 3 is terrible, but then someone that averages 30, 5, and 5 for their career is great, I'm missing something. Or maybe the second best shooting guard of all time, who averaged pretty much the same exact stat line as Melo, but yet his stat line is good, but Melo's is terrible. I see the logic. I see it.